Hey everybody, welcome to Big E's Auto. It's Big E. Well, it's a hot day today. It went 91 degrees. And I think the fucking humidity is going to match the temperature. It is hot as balls. Freaking not comfortable at all. Grab yourself one of these. So today, bitches, we're going to be working on the C4 again. Ta-da! So today, I know, not real technical, but we're going to be replacing valve cover gaskets on the old C4 here. So I'm gonna get some tools together. I'm gonna get a plan together. And while I'm doing that shit, why don't we roll the fucking intro and we're gonna get started here. Cheers. Alright bitches, here we go. So here we got our valve cover. Okay, we have our breather line here. Something to keep in mind before we get started, unless you want to go through the hassle of disconnecting your battery, which I don't. Don't forget, on the back of your alternator, I don't know if you can see my finger, I have a piece of blue tape. Okay, that is constant hot. Okay, so if you touch that with this, you're going to get an arc. Potentially could do some damage to your ECM sensors, whatever, la. So what do they say? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So that might not be a bad thing to do, is cover that up with a piece of tape. So anyway, let's get started here. So as far as I know, any GM vehicle, or maybe even American made vehicle, after the year 1988, everything's metric. So this is 1985, so it's going to be a standard. So it's going to be, you're going to have these 4 bolts here. They're going to be a 7/16. Anything newer, like I said, anything newer than 88 is probably going to be 10 millimeter. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take these out. Like I said, there's 4 bolts. And also on here, there's these tabs. Back in the day, they used to call them load spreaders. So that way, you don't just get the gripping pressure where the head of the bolt is, but it spreads it out a little bit. So we'll do that. So while we're here, let's pull the breather out as well, because we're going to need that out of the way. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and let's get this out as well. Once they get so loose, we can take them out by hand. Or if you have a power tool, zip them out, done. Just be careful that you don't drop. Okay, so here's what you got. We got our bolt, okay? And then this piece here, if you're not sure, that's called a load spreader. So when the bolt goes in like that, instead of just having your load on the bottom side of the bolt, now it spreads to the tip of this thing. Okay, I don't know if I did a good job of explaining, but instead of the load being underneath the head of the bolt, it's going to be underneath this piece here. So it spreads out, if you will, the pressure that the bolt is putting on the valve cover. So I'm going to go ahead here. That one's in a little further than I thought. So here it comes. So those are the 2 bottom ones. You can also, you don't need to use fancy load spreaders that are shaped like that either. You can do even a washer. You put a big washer, whatever the biggest you can fit. If you put that under the bolt, that acts like a load. That is basically the same principle as using a load spreader. You can use a washer, pretty much the same principle. If you don't want to go to the trouble of looking for a load spreader. Okay, now we got the 4 out. Now you see they're loose. Now the reason we're replacing these, if you remember, we did a video on replacing the wiper motor and how close it was. I noticed that it was ripped, and now it's leaking and it's smoking so bad it looks like something out of a Cheech and Chong movie. So that's no good. So carefully we're going to take this thing, being mindful that that alternator is energized. Carefully slide, and now we have our valve cover is off. So now our next step is going to be obviously clean up, and we're going to check to make sure that the holes where the bolts go through aren't not convex, I guess is the proper term. So we're going to go ahead and check that out. So I'm going to go ahead and reposition the camera. We're going to go on the bench. I'm going to show you all that. Alright guys, so here we are on the bench. We have the valve cover. So you can see here what I was talking about. It's torn. That's where the leak is. You can see all kinds of oil sitting here. That's where the oil was coming out. So needless to say, this gasket is getting jettisoned. And this feels like it's a pretty old gasket anyway. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to pull it off and fucking have it go bye-bye. So naturally now, at this point, there's still some residue and other stuff. So what you can do is take yourself a single-edged razor blade like this and just go around and clean off the remnants. Get them out of here. Anything that's left behind, any kind of debris, irregularity, whatever, etc., etc., is going to make it that the new gasket won't seal right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean all this up. And yes, some stuff's going to fall in the valve cover. That's life. You just got to get yourself a clean rag or a towel. Wipe that out of there. Use brake clean, carburetor cleaner, whatever. Also, if you want to really get it. So we're almost done with cleaning it. A couple little spots here yet that have to be gotten. So we can get this as clean as possible. Alright, now what you want to do at this point is get yourself a ball peen hammer and a flat surface. Now remember I talked about with those bolts and the blow spreaders, I can see here that this one here is not flat. So what you're going to do is hold that flat, give that a couple taps, so when you put the bolt through, when you tighten it down, it's not going to create a leak. So go ahead, hold that thing flat. That way everything on this sealing lip here of the valve cover is flat. That's what you want, because that's what's going to give you the seal. Now there's a little bit of burr. I may even hit that with a file because I just don't like that. I mean, it could cut into the gasket. So what I'm going to do, our next step will be using this here stuff. I like to wipe this off and then put this on. And then I take the valve cover gasket and I put it on. I actually use clips and let it set up. So that way when you go to flip this over to put it on the motor, you're not wrestling with the valve cover, the gasket, trying to line everything up with the cylinder head. With, you know, having that all kind of glued together, if you will, it kind of makes life a little more simple. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to clean these off a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and when I come back, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like when it's all set up. Alright, so here we are with, I have the gunk spread out, whatever, the brown stuff. Here's the gasket, okay? So make sure your holes are lined up. Now, I forgot to mention, this is what I'm using. Okay. It's a personal preference. I don't know if one, in my experience, I never noticed one seals any better than the other. I kind of like the cork. But that's just me. I think it's just a little more, it holds its shape a little better. And That's just my feeling. Maybe you like the rubber better, that's fine. But I highly recommend this step with using this, because now remember, this stuff's been in the package and on the shelf for God knows how long. So it might have its shape. I mean, even this I had to manipulate around a little bit to get the 4 holes line up. So at this point, I'm going to leave it like this, and I'm going to let this set up for a couple minutes, and then when I come back, we should be back at the car ready to put this back on the cylinder head. Carefully work it around with the ignition wires and the rocker arms. Fuel lines. Okay. Might have moved a little bit. It's not terrible. I can still get the bolts in. Maybe not. Just trying to see where everything's going to line up here. I thought it would work. Guess not. Yep. It failed me. So now we gotta see what the heck happened, why this isn't working out as well. I hate when this happens, because I really don't take the valve cover all apart here. Alright, let me see if I can reline that up, then when we come back we're going to pull it up. Guys, so we got all back together. We got the breather on, we got all the bolts tight. We're going to wipe this down to take care of any kind of residue or anything like that. Yeah, so there you go. It's a hot day. We got it done. One thing to keep in mind, if you are working on aluminum, that's chromed aluminum valve covers, they do have a tendency to change their shape. You can hear I'm a little out of breath. I had 2 bolts that would not, for whatever reason, the valve cover spread apart, that it was wider. I don't know if it's from the heat, what the deal was, so I had to actually get everything and use a pry bar to get everything to line up, and then get the bolts in so that they weren't, like, the bolts weren't stretched, because you don't want those to snap. So anyway, that's it for valve cover installation. We're going to do the passenger side, but that's going to be the same process. I just wanted to show you guys the basic process of valve cover gasket installation. This should take care of the leak. Hopefully the car won't smoke as much. Now it's not pumping oil out right onto the header, or the exhaust manifold I should say. So anyway, that's it for today. Like and subscribe, leave a comment, have a beer, relax. I enjoy with the work you've done. Until then, watch out for each other, take care of each other. See you next time right here on Big E's. Bye for now.
Take it from the